Okay. Hi, Uzo.
What's up?
Oh man. So yeah, we say why we here. We are here on I guess on a quest. What is it?
A discovery,
Discovery. Um, what else?
research.
Research. Maybe for me, I think it's been very interesting to discover almost part of me that I did not know, like a big part of me that I did not know, but this part is related to just my ancestors.
Right.
Those on the African lands, and those also on in foreign lands. So this is in Americas, the United States, Brazil. We have the islands, the Caribbean islands. So all those, our ancestors, aunties, mamas, uncles, men and women who who shaped the history of the world, but yet we grew up not knowing about them. What do you know? What's your experience? What have you? How close do you come to being conscious about the greatness or the battles these women that we are discovering just now in the 21st centuries, like really literally set themselves free and set free the entire communities. Even if I knew, coming to America, I heard a lot about Harriet Tubman, but how many Harriet Tubman have we had? It's just questions. How many Harriet Tubmans have we had, and then we don't know their names.
Well, the question is, who's Harriet Tubman, right? Like, right? Like, I growing up in Nigeria, that's not a household name, and I believe Harriet Tubman as a black immigrant is still not a household name. I feel like it's been my experience engaging with the descendants of those who were enslaved, the descendants of our ancestors that were enslaved. Those are the ones who perhaps know about who Harriet Tubman is, who is a woman who decided that she was no longer going to be enslaved, and she decided to free herself, right? And then when she went into safety,
yeah,
and literally was no longer at risk in the same way that she was where she left, she went back. She went back and got some more people.
Yeah.
Time and time again.
Yeah.
So what I'm learning from that is, first of all, like, the courage, right? The courage that it takes. Second of all, she didn't do it by herself, right?
Yeah.
She didn't do it by herself. I mean, there were people that she had to leave behind, but there were people that helped her along the way. Who were those people? And who are those people in my life? If I have to liberate myself from something that's keeping me in bondage, who are the people? Who's the community that's going to help me get through the underground railroad, right? Who are the allies? Who are the people who are going to have me sleep in their homes and cook for me and help me escape at night or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of what, so yes. So who's Harriet Tubman? I'm still learning about her. I'm discovering, because also as a nurse, I'm discovering that she too was a nurse, like a professional nurse in the U.S., worked for the U.S. military, even though she was a spy as well. But that's besides the point, right? Because we need spies. You know what I mean? Which I think we're going to be highlighting in this work.
Yeah, I mean, this work is the inquiry. Even if starting off the questions of, okay, they were, Europeans. They came to Africa. They start capturing the Africans and putting them in the boats. And then the stories of the Africans who are actually, capturing
Others.
Others.
Yes.
you know, capturing others to offer or sell them
Yes.
to this place.
Part of their work or their
Part of
job.
the work,
Or,
and also
Yeah.
the process of asking, okay, actually when they offered or captures their owns to be sold, to be sent away, because we know that slavery has existed everywhere, in each culture, everywhere,
Yes,
in Europe,
sure.
everywhere, worldwide, it's been that, but our scale. So now there was the question for me, slavery in African lands, even if you lost the battle, you got captured as a slave, you knew when you're gonna go
Go.
sold, but everybody knew where you were sold, where you went. You know, okay, you left this village, you were captured by this clan or by these people, you're gonna live with the people, work for those people, but everybody knew where you can find
Are you talking about like regional slavery?
Yeah, regional
Right?
slavery.
Because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it wasn't international yet. It was
No,
like,
no, no.
you know, like,
Of course, I'm not
right?
talking about
This is like,
regional.
okay,
No,
yeah.
I'm not talking about, you know. That's what the point I was coming is like, you know, if it's regional, you know, if it's happening in Congo, they know we're leaving this the south for the north. But so the question is like, when some of the Africans who offered their brothers or some of sisters, for instance, for slavery, they thought, did they know, maybe they thought the
That it was
land
gonna
they
be
will go, it's
regional.
gonna be regional. Like,
Yeah.
oh, they're going across the ocean, or we can, you know, they can find, or there is a way back.
come back.
You know, there is a way to
Yeah,
come back.
so-
one of the
yeah.
points. So now,
So,
what
yeah.
happens on the boats? Like, when the rebellion starts, the rebellions that happens on the boats. You know, those who rebelled, those who were able to actually capture the you know, kill the Europeans who, you know, and then sailed back to Africa. I'm wondering what happened. Did they realize, oh, we are actually going somewhere no good? You know, I'm just questioning that process.
Are you asking about the African people
Yes.
who were employed and or were working in the slaving business?
Yeah.
The ones who actually were dealing, you know, trading
Yes.
people for goods, services, money, whatever. Are you saying what happens to them eventually?
No, not them.
Okay,
Actually,
who?
I'm asking to those who were sold already. Those in the boats.
Got it.
Those who rebelled. Just
The
like
enslaved, the kidnapped,
the kidnapped.
Yes.
The kidnapped who got the courage to actually stand for
Rebel.
themselves, to rebel. And during that journey to unknown lands, and they rebelled to sell back. I'm not sure if they
If they were
sailed
successful.
back to the actual land they came from, or they landed somewhere else in Africa. So those are, you know, some of the questions. You know, that's, you know, and the movement also, it didn't stop there on the slave ships. You know, we talk about the Maroons. The Maroons are these Africans, black people who actually never became slaves, even if they landed on these places during the slave trade, but then they never became slaves. They were able to form free Maroons. I would call them the Maroons community. They was leaders, you know, all over, you know, Brazil and the Caribbeans, and, you know, here in the land. So for me, it's like that process, or the energy, or the force, the power they got back, or what the process is. Was it like a spiritual process to, that's, you know, how them say that we, even if we're on serene land, but we ain't never gonna be slaves here, we gonna stand for ourselves. You know, so just like that's some of the questions that's coming for me in mind. One of the reasons of doing the project here is not just yes, it's dance project, but dance is not dance here. Dance is movement to translate, you know, tell about this story, but this is our body. It's our body reactions.
This is a temple that conducts energy, and this temple that conducts energy is whatever intention I put in this body. That's what this body will give me. So if I am channeling the rebels, if I'm channeling the spirits of Harriet Tubman, if I'm channeling the spirits of Queen Nzinga, if I'm channeling the spirits of Ijanga Jasper, if I'm channeling the spirits of Queen Amina, then it's going to activate within me. My body will vibrate to the vibration of the energies that I'm channeling. And then I have to be very careful in this practice of channeling energy, right? I have to be careful that I do due diligence. Yeah, it's like trying to knock on the door of your parent every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? And if you knock, maybe if you offer tea, or if you offer a flower, or if you offer something, mom would be like, okay, baby, what do you want? But if you constantly knocking and don't offer anything ever, not even a please, thank you, and something.
Yeah.
This is kind of how I see the practice of this work as well. Yes, you said it's just dance, but no. Right? I mean, maybe you see it and you see it looks beautiful because the body is channeling something beautiful.
Yes.
But it takes energy. I have to prepare.
Yes.
I have to prepare my body.
Yeah.
And my spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember one of the rehearsals we did, and we got to that place where we had to scream a little bit and have the body, and then we also, at least for me, I got scared a little bit because
I did too.
I didn't want to go to that place because I'm feeling myself I'm feeling myself pulled from everywhere, and then I'm on the floor, and then I'm screaming, I'm imagining all these atrocities happening, and me saying, no, I want to be in my land, I don't know you dragging me in force, and then I'm feeling powerless. So you're feeling powerless, it's how is it to feel powerless? Like you literally can't do anything even if you're resisting. Your mental strength and your physical strength is all bound.
Yes.
And you can't do anything, and in a moment, do you kill yourself with your breath? Do you choke yourself? When you can use your hands, you cannot use your feet, nothing. And what state of mind and soul it's troubling in those places. So it's then that thing you realize, oh, you know what? I'm also descendant of these people. I'm descendant of ancestors that came here, because coming from the Congo, and until now we have the route. There was a port in the kingdom of Luango, which is still today the village of Luango. We have that path. We call it the route of slave routes. It's there, every time I go home I see it, and I go, and the minute you're walking through the path, your body, you have this consciousness, so your body start having reaction to like, oh wow, this is where they took all the people from the Congo people to the Atlantic Oceans that's right here, and I'm walking there, and I'm going to touch that water, and you imagining, and then at some point it becomes, you had that visceral reactions, and the sadness as well, and sadness of, oh, they left, and we who stayed, could we actually go after them and save them? But where to go, when to start, if those who stayed on the land didn't even know actually where they went, or didn't have capacity to actually go save them, or maybe they thought they just go into another regional land that we can see them in a few years or something. I'm not sure.
Right.
But that never happened. That's not the case. And then we were left with the history, the weight of history that we are trying to to learn, to go back and actually put the names on. It's not just saying ancestors, but they had names, because it's history. We know today, you mentioned Queen Zinga, we mentioned Queen Aimina, we mentioned, Gaspar Yanga, we mentioned Gaspar Yanga, who actually has statues of him in Mexico City. We mentioned Nganga Nzumbi in Brazil, Dandara. So there's a lot of them that's as I said this morning, I just discovered another queen, Mani Mbonda from the Kingdom of Congo. That's before Queen Zinga, and so we are trying to put the names into names and faces too, because we want to try.
And also, I mean, I'll be curious to even post it on social media to see who in your lineage.
Yeah.
Do you know how people have told stories that actually ran away, that actually were the ones that got escaped. That actually were the ones who burned shit down, right? Like we hear about who's the guy that like Ted Bondi? No. Was that his name? No. There's we're gonna have to edit his name into the video because this is the guy that everybody was afraid of because he was the black guy that like would go and like burn shit down, burn plantations down. Like he was the guy that like people were afraid of, and they painted him like he was this savage, like but he was literally just like enraged by the kidnappers and the traffickers, right? That were trafficking our women and our children and our men and selling them for money.
Are you talking about
what's his name?
After there was a movie made of him recently, right?
Was there?
No,
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah, the name is Wyatt. It's coming. It's coming.
Yes. It's more recent. It's more recent than not. It's a recent history, as in, slavery was already abolished, but there were still places that were still practicing it.
I see.
Like that more recent. I forgot his name, but anyway, I'm gonna remember it.
Yeah, I think
because they also covered him in this Black History boot camp. They talked about him. And a lot of black people don't want to identify with that because they're like, that's not what we do. We don't burn shit down. We don't do that. We're respectable black people. We just pray about it, or we just sing about it. And singing and praying is good. It's good. In fact, it's more powerful, I believe, if we could all get together, but we don't all believe in the same thing. Some people actually believe that we need to go to the source of the oppression and kill it.
Yeah.
Get rid of it's like if the things growing in your garden that's disrupting the nutrition from growing, you go in there and you weed it out.
Yeah.
Right? In more recent history, Sister Soldier made a reference like that. She's this black woman, author, hip-hop raptivist that they called her, and was demonized by Bill Clinton because she was enraged again about the killings of black people, right? And the industrial, the prison industrial complex that was the worst in Clinton's administration. Like he literally signed that shit into practice. And so when I think it was Amadou Diallo who died in New York, right? And 31, everybody was enraged.
31 shots.
Yes, people were angry, and they asked, a reporter asked Sister Soldier what she thought about it, and she said she's not surprised. And she actually said that, like, with this kind of oppression that happens in our communities, of course we're going to kill each other, and we kill each other every day, so there's no surprise. But eventually, right, like, this violence is gonna come to white people, and I hope you don't believe that you're separate from.
Yeah, I mean, we cannot separate. We living on the same society.
Exactly.
We shop in the same places. We go to the same, same parks.
Right.
Same festivals. So as long as we live in the same society, there is no.
We're all affected by it.
We all affected by it.
We're not
gonna. It's not one certain group of people issue. No, it's the repercussions.
The repercussions.
It's on everybody.
If you believe that you have nothing to do with a black person in this world, think about that again. If you've never met one before. Right? Even if you've never met one before, if you actually believe that you have nothing to do with them, so you shouldn't care, think again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Think again. But you know what though? I'd like to talk about some of how this rebellion shows up in our daily lives. I want the kind of courage. I want the kind of courage that Jasper Younger has. The kind of courage that Harriet Tubman has.
I mean, we talk about it as revolution movements. Yes. We saw it in the Arab Spring, for instance, in Northern Africa. It was something that started boiling somehow, and then we get to the point like, no, this has to stop. Like even slavery, they may say, oh yeah, it's Victor Schulcher, whatever his name was, abolished slavery. I'm like, no. Slavery just got to the place where it could not continue.
It could not.
Because the slaves they said no. That's it.
The enslaved were like, nope, we can't do
we
this
just
anymore.
say no. They just say no. So the credits of the liberations is not gonna go to a person, and worse, it's not gonna be a white person gonna take credit for stopping slavery. No, the slaves, they stood up. They said no. This thing.
The enslaved.
The enslaved.
Yes.
Yeah, the enslaved.
Yeah.
Yeah, the enslaved. They just say no. This thing. That's it. It's it's that time has come to an end. So now we end it. So that's what happened. So the process of how people rebel. I mean, I would look at it also in we are spiritual beings. We know that we've lived centuries of oppression is not even the word. I need like a word that's been, because we're not even humans. When humans, that's not the oppression. Is not, doesn't even the
We're not
word.
humans?
We were not humans. We know no, during slavery the black person.
No, you're less than a human.
We're less than a human.
Yeah,
We're
sure.
Like, that's the context.
That was
like,
the message
the
that was sold to everybody.
They were sold to everybody.
Yeah.
We're less than humans. We were animals, or
Yes.
even less than
if
animals.
you start to feel kind of
So-
sad about what's going on with your human that your parent bought,
Yeah, absolutely.
they would use this message.
So that the thing.
Yes.
So, and also, fear that was put into us for that generation. People, our ancestors did not have. It was not time. I would say they did not. It was not time for them to actually stand up. And because, I still believe in that spiritual process also that has to happen. And then when it happens, it started with when we look at, for instance, Nganga Nzumbi, we look at Dandara, we're gonna find out a lot of these ancestors, they came from a lineage of kings and queens that we are talking about. The blood did not stop there. The royalties, it was like the blood came here, and those are the blood that just
It's like Kendrick said, I got royalties, got loyalties inside my DNA.
So you have that. So
Yeah,
then
yeah.
the DNA's whoever is carrying it, whoever had a horse, when it comes, was that time comes, and then it just happens, and nothing can stop that when it happens, and nobody stopped that, and nobody. So that happening now when we want to stand up for something or any kind of
Right.
injustice that happens to us. We know that black folks, we are proven to be unstoppable in what we want to obtain. What we want, we always did, and eventually we go. There is stages of struggle, stages of battle. When you win something, and you have to keep moving forward with another battle to win that other thing, because there were
It's
so
like
many.
never ending.
It's
How have you rebelled in your life? When have these spirits showed up for you?
My rebellion, first of all, just having these conversations.
Yes.
Having these conversations is a rebellion movement for me. When I say to folks, for instance, hey, I became black when I left Africa.
Right.
So I was not black. I was just a human being.
What
I
is
never
that?
thought of me to be black. What was that for? So it was not a thing to be black. And is it even a thing to be black?
Sure.
I remember the conversation we have at Gerald. We said, back in the day in this country, it was offensive.
It was offensive to say black.
To say black. So we have accepting us as black because we want to make a statement. So I'm black. So what?
I'm black and I'm proud, right?
I'm
like
black and
James
proud.
Brown.
So it's not an insult if you say, you're a black person. I'm saying yes. It's evidence.
Or even African was an insult.
So
African was an insult.
So that's even strange.
So you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
you
even
African. So
strange.
like, even within the black community, to say you little African ass, you black as African, you hungry like Africans, it's like an insult to be
wow.
African, and that was also instituted.
Really? All right.
Well, yeah.
I did not know about
Yeah, and then
that.
if you're in South Florida, right? If you're in South Florida, because I was living there, right? Because nobody likes anybody in South Florida. It's the most racist, segregated place ever, that I've lived. But to be Haitian was the worst.
Oh wow.
So, like kids in school would be like, you ugly like you Haitian. Because Haitian was the closest to African, and they had more Haitians than they did Africans. And even if you were African, you might even just pretend you're not. And it's really sad. I pretended like I wasn't African. My brother started learning the Jamaican accent because
Wow.
that was much more acceptable than to be African. You understand? So we've come a long way. Wakanda forever. We've come a long way since 1998.
So you see, like they are layers,
So many layers.
never-ending layers of, you know, everything really relating to just the skin of your color. In the end, it being this, because I'm pretty sure when we're gonna talk about that's another debate, colorism. If the lighter the skin is, the more favors you get from society.
The privileges,
so the privileges that come with it. So it doesn't matter if you're Asian, it doesn't matter if you're Jamaican.
Proximity to whiteness.
Proximity to whiteness. So that's the thing comes on. Okay, it's actually still the skin of a color. How dark or how light are you?
Yep.
So it's so I think this project is has layers to it. Layers here is how we liberate ourselves, our body, our minds, and how we achieve the freedom in this time. So freedom is also economic freedom, economic freedom.
Yes.
Financial freedom. What kind of freedom do you see?
It's like a freedom. For me, I believe like freedom to love whoever you want to love. Freedom to build together, like the freedom to own and till the land and grow the land. My freedom to practice my culture without prosecution. A freedom to create new culture if you need to, right? The freedom to expand. A lot of us are so expansive, but we don't have the freedom to expand.
Yeah.
We have to make ourselves small.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to back up a little bit here. So the reason I'm saying what triggered this conversation is actually I've witnessed in many accounts, many times, the conversation between an African and African American, especially that video you shared with me.
Yes.
So there is the African, one
when
side,
you say
and
that,
the African American on the other
who
side.
is, because this is all happening on Turtle Island in the United States, right? So let's bring context to this, because you could be watching this from anywhere in the world, but
Absolutely.
we're living in the United States, right? And so if you are an African immigrant,
Yes.
right? A recent immigrant who may be your parents or maybe even your grandparents, because that's even, like third generation immigrant. Let's just say you're just immigrant because you know where your parents have come from or your grandparents have come from. And the spectrum is really long, right?
Yes.
And then we've got the descendants of those who were enslaved and or the descendants of those Africans who had been living on this land for generations.
Yeah.
Hundreds of years.
Yes.
And those two groups, those two far ends, recent immigrant and, the African who has been living on this land for a long time, when you get those folks together and they are ignorant, it is the most painful conversation to ever witness.
It's true. It's really painful. I saw before even some of the videos you shared me. This was a Facebook conversation.
Yes.
A brother that I know, both African American, one is they're going on into each other. And I felt sad because I was witnessing two Africans. We did not know who they were.
No.
Because the Africans. We have to understand this. There is what we call slavery and what we call also colonizations. So the Europeans, when they came to the coast of Africa to get what was going to be the products, the label, bring them to the Americans for what we know the purpose, the plantations, and we build wealth, this generational wealth that has helped build Europe and build America.
From stolen land and stolen labor.
And eventually,
but anyway.
And then what happened, they did not stop there. They came back, after discovering the new lands and the potentials of the new lands, but they also realized actually there is a lot more potential in actually where we took these people, and that's Africa. So they came back to actually have ownership of the entire continent, and that's what we saw in the Berlin Conference in 1884 to 1885. So basically, all the Europeans, they gathered in Germany, in Berlin, to split Africa. So they really shared Africa like a piece of cake.
Without any African at the table.
Yeah, there was no African on the table. That's why we have what we have today. The borders we have in Africa as countries, they were not set by Africans.
No.
You have Senegal, you have Ivory Coast, you have
Nigeria,
Burkina Faso, and we found the same people of the same families split up. They found themselves belonging to different countries and not becoming the same people. We have you see in the Congo, we have the Punu people in the Congo, you have the Punu people in Gabon, you have the Congo people in what we are Democratic Republic of Congo.
Just like you have Yoruba people in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Benin, and in Togo.
And same blood.
Across, yes. Across.
Family. And then
imagine how violent that must have been to no longer cross the border.
You can cross the borders, whether you cannot cross the border if you don't have a visa.
That's right.
If you don't have permission to cross the border,
imagine
you don't have it. And then you don't be the educational, and the trick is the educational system. So once we got there, colonization means just your educational system, what you're studying in school that was established for you now. People found themselves knowing more about the history of Europe than the history of the oppressors, than the history of themselves, of their own. And then once you don't know, then we end up with conversations of Africans blaming African Americans and African Americans blaming Africans.
I couldn't even speak my own language in school. So when I go to school and I speak my language, you get punished. You kneel down and they'll do the cane and the 5 on this hand, 5 on this hand, and they say no vernacular.
I know. We
you
had
have
the thing
to speak
we called
Queen's English.
When I was growing up, we had to speak French, and we had to speak good French.
Yeah.
If you made a mistake in French, they're gonna come to you. No, in the Congo, they're going to bring like a little necklace. On the necklace was attached something was stinky. Like a dead animal or something that was really stinky.
The humiliation.
Yeah, they will put that around your neck, and you're gonna walk around with it for the entire day because you didn't speak good French, or you didn't. They found you not speaking French, or you made mistakes speaking French. And we found these generations of Africans too who could not speak the language.
So you can't speak French and you can't speak your language, so you're lost. Like you're really lost.
But we have those in
yes.
I think what saved maybe African languages also because Africa has thousands of languages.
Yes.
When you come to the Congo, there were so many languages. There was no way that the French who colonized the Congo could erase all those languages. But if they could, they would do it.
Right.
But there was no way they could erase. There were so many languages, so many cultures and subcultures and dialects, and it was not possible. I think that saved us. At least that saved those families who still spoke the language, or those who actually live in Africa were gifted enough to be curious and learn the language. Because we have Africans born and raised in Africa, in whatever country, who can speak the language.
No.
They speak either English or they speak only French.
In fact,
they don't speak their own language, and
the
that's
Igbo
the reality.
people, my lineage, it is rare to find people who are educated who also speak the language, just because they feel like it's either or. And that by speaking your language, which is the way of the oppressor, that it means that the colonizers have done their work to convince you that you no longer need your language, that the colonizer's language is the best one that will get you the passport. And it does get you somewhere, but away from who you are.
Yeah, and there is a trick. Sometimes we speak the language, but we can't write that language.
No!
As easy or fluently as we write English. French.
No, because it's been drilled. I speak English every day. I write it every day.
That's the thing.
So
We don't write our languages.
No.
Yeah, you can ask somebody count from 0 to 10 in your language. They lost. They it's not. Sometimes we speak their language, but it's not the pure language. The language is mixed with some French,
with the colonized language.
Yeah. It's not taught in school.
Yeah.
How would you know about your own language?
It's wrong all the way
when it's
around.
not taught
Colonization,
in schools?
slavery, indentured servitude, all of that is all wrong.
How do you liberate yourself from that, and how you go back to become you, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of the African philosophies or ordinary in my language is what it would be called, probably, if you look at your cosmogram of the Congo people, I feel like there's a lot of the philosophy that's embedded in there that helps us answer this question. I'd like to do a little bit more research, but like the Ordinani, the Igbo people, you know, it's imatongwe, right? The sort of like the metaphor that you kind of have to tune in within to find yourself, you know. We've got Sankofa from Ghana, you know, the image of the bird with the egg behind, and it's stretching its neck, and it's like eventually you kind of have to go back to your source. You have to go back to the origin, which I believe is the self. You know, the self, your ancestors, the ancestry. For me, for us learning these stories, for me, is a way for me to go back to who I am, because these are my ancestors too. Right?
I appreciate the answer. That's why we're working on this piece. We call it Remember.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So really remember, it's really, you know, at least for me, I'm really in the process of remembering, because there is a all memory, you know, if not a big part of my memory that is not even there. So I have, luckily today we have access to what we're calling now internet to do some easy research. Otherwise, it's gonna take us to actually travel to Africa and visit the libraries in Africa with like Timbuktu. I would love to go to Timbuktu.
Me too.
Luckily, the books were saved
from the fires,
from the, you know, the wars that was there. So I would love to go to Timbuktu and study all the books that's been written, that's been there for centuries. I would love to do. So one thing that will liberate us is it's not like a physical liberation for many of us. It's now this liberation
and
here.
Spiritual liberation. Because our spirit is bound now with religion and the new religion, and sometimes even old religion, because sometimes that old religion needs to be renovated, right? So, but either way, I feel like our spirits are bound in that, and there's nothing wrong when it's supporting your spiritual growth. But I feel like we need spiritual liberation as well. You know, what is the thing that's setting your spirit on fire to explode into what you need to become? And is your religious practice helping you do that? Because if it's not, if it's repressing you or suppressing you, then you're enslaved by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, one of at least the work I'm doing for me is the spiritual work, because I feel at times there are really great disconnections between who I am and the questions I'm asking, and actually the land, the Congo, and trying to make a connection. And I'm missing on how, you know, the actually the way to get there. And even if I knew that I may want to sit down and listen, learn how to listen, be on the land, on the soil, remove my shoes, have, you know, walk barefoot in some, you know, specific places, and touch maybe trees and communicate and ask for it, and maybe the answers will come. Like ask for it and touch the water and really, you know, speak it out, and or just, you know, also talk to the elders who are here living with us. They can serve as guide to us to, you know, teach us the way, because no, it's not lost. Not everything is lost. The spirituality is there. When I do work on myself in Amiibo, I'm like, okay, this is the processes. I'm on foreign land. This is what the process here. But I need to find the guidance. You know, that's something we all can ask as well. You know, guidance to the you know, the elder, the Nganga, what else they call them, with, you know, spiritual,
the griots, the
Dibias, they are all the names that we call. You know, they all have same functions into guiding us and teaching us actually the way to making connections. Yeah. Ooh.
I'm good. It's starting to get cold. You could probably do some movement.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna cut it, but how you wanna end with what you wanna say to end something? So it's project Remember. We are trying to remember, or we are remembering, is because sometimes it's using the word try and actually do. It's two things, but we are working on remembering. So this is a journey in time to question us as African descent people scattered all over the globe. We've coming from the same place, same source, and we now bear all these names, and some of us have names that have imprints of colonizations, imprints of slavery, and imprints of the oppressors. You are bearing it in your birth certificates. That's quite heavy. You are remembering going back, and you carrying with you two identities. The one you define yourself as who you are, and then the identity you don't see in your birth certificates. That's giving you a status in the society. So how do you break with that? And where do you go, or what's your process? So in this project is about recovering that, questioning that, and looking at, you know, those who were able, our ancestors who actually free themselves from any kind of bondage, form, you know, free communities who never became slaves, who at one point became were enslaved, but got themselves out of it and lived a free life. So how do we cope with it? And what do we find in the process, and what do we do with what we find in the process? Remember, let's remember, maybe by going back, it's just making a trip back home. Where is home? Africa? Is it another home here? Gaga settles here? Or the energy, is energy home? Where do you find that energy? So there's a lot of questions.